In this video, we're going to be creating a banger of a YouTube thumbnail. We're going to be using Dreambooth, Midjourney, and Photoshop to do it. I guarantee you will be getting more views on your videos if you have professional-looking thumbnails. All right, let's get into it. All right, right now we are on the collab for the Dreambooth Stable Diffusion project. What we're going to do here is first, if you're familiar with collabs, we're going to go through and check all of these different stations and make sure we execute on them. So first we're going to connect. This first one connects us. Let's install our requirements. Bingo. There are a couple things you need for this. You do need a G drive and a Hugging Face account. All right, so that executed. Our next step is we're going to go to our Hugging Face account, which I told you needed to set up. This is Hugging Face. What we're going to do is, this is the main page. We're going to go to the settings and we're going to go to access tokens. You will need to create a token. Right here, create new token. Super easy. This square on square, that's your copy. We're going to paste our token, which we just copied, right in there and run this. Next, we're going to save to the G drive. In a Stable Diffusion folder, and we need to name this. I tend to try and name things that are not a name that isn't accessible or readily searchable online, because it can confuse the model. XRS. So Extremely Real Sarah. That's going to be the name of our directory, and our model should ask me if I want to connect to G drive. I'm going to say yes. Bingo. Okay, now we're going to get into the training. Okay, this little red area is where we're going to change a couple things. XRS is what I was using. So I'm going to put that here, and it's case sensitive. XRS. Sarah's not a dog. Person. I'm going to change dog again to person. XRS and person. Okay, this is setting up your models and your model names and things like that. I guess it's your class prompt and your instance prompt. So we're going to run that. All right, so we are going to upload our images. I have about 120. You probably don't need that many, but you know. The trick was, went through and cropped them into squares at 512 by 512. That's important. And I want to get the face. So, well, you need face, half body, full body. You need a variation of everything. You don't want it from the same shoot. You want different clothes. You want to different locations, because that can get baked into your training. So make sure you take care of all of that. And it's going to say choose files. We're going to select all of these, open them up, and they're going to upload. So now the model can, or the engine can access it while we train it. So this max train steps, it actually, when you load it, it says 800. I like to do about 3,500. This is going to take a while. This could be 45 minutes. So let's get it cooking. So the beautiful part about this is you only have to train your model once. If you want to reuse the same model over and over again, you can skip the training and image upload. So then it speeds up this process dramatically. You don't have to wait for that. You just have to make sure you're not rewriting over the model information, the weights information on your G drive. All right, after 53 minutes, our training is done. Our next tick to go through is specify the weights directory. We're going to leave this we can convert our weights to a CKPT file. So, and I always have FP16 checked. We're going to run that. Now I'm going to run our inference. All right, so here is where we get into the fun part. This is the AI stuff, and this is where we're prompting. So I don't want to get too into the prompting. There's tons of videos and stuff, and I can do more where we go in depth. My thing is I wanted to create a soldier type character out of my wife's model. And the important part of that is when we do write our prompt, XRS is our instance prompt and person is our class prompt. So when we write our prompts, that's what we're referring to. So it's portrait of XRS person as Special Forces. So that's the important part. All right, let's run that. And these are some results we got. And remember, these are oh, good. Stuff's looking good. You need to tweak this a little bit. Guidance scale I brought up a little bit. Inference scale bring way up because it defaults at like 24. I brought this one up to 250. Sometimes you don't have to go that far. It all depends how the model was made, and that's based off of your image library that you uploaded. So there is some tweaking, and you just got to know what you're looking for. But I see some great stuff here. Excellent. All right, I think we got enough out of Dreambooth. Let's move on. All right, now we've got our foreground element of our character that we created in Dreambooth. Now we're going to create our background element in Midjourney, our favorite. All right, so let's get into it. Again, I'm not going to get too much into the prompting because there's other videos for that. So, but I'll kind of tell you what I want to create here. So let's go to our Imagine prompt. I want this to be a war zone. So we'll start with that. I want it to be a inner city, but I want it destroyed because it is a destroyed inner city. It's a future war. Nighttime. Let's do hurricane. See if we can create some nice reflections and stuff. Hurricane. Let's see. Smoke, fire, steam. Of course, with all this weather, we want volumetric light, or lighting. Volumetric lighting. Highly detailed. Oh, I got an alarm going off. Highly detailed. Intricate. And this is important. We want our aspect ratio at 16:9 because that's what a thumbnail on YouTube is. I want the quality at 5. I don't know if I need to put this in anymore, but I don't know when it became default. Style 4C. And no people. All right, let's see what that gives us. So what I'm hoping for is something that has a good rule of thirds type thing. So, there's some good stuff here. Oh, that's neat. But I kind of need my elements to sit off to one side because we're going to have foreground and background, and I want the interest of the background to be on one side. All right, I think we got what we want here. I really like this guy. It does have a person in it, but we can fix that. Here we are, all scaled up. Perfect. Let's save that one out. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to upscale our images. Our foreground is kind of small, 512 by 512, so that needs to come up. Our background that we rendered out in Midjourney is probably okay for a thumbnail, but I'm going to upscale it anyway just so we have plenty of room. You just want to have as much resolution as possible. I use Gigapixel. I'm going to open that up. You can use Adobe's Enhance or the free collabs, the GPGAN. Here it is. This one was out of Dreambooth. So when it first comes in, let's see, zoom to fit. You're going to be tempted to go with art and CG. That doesn't work really well for this image. It adds a lot of contrast and hard lines in there. I don't like that. So what I'm gonna go, let's see what low resolution does. All right, I like that a lot better. You know, it was almost giving it too much detail, too much high contrast detail. So I'm gonna do the low resolution. Let's go up 6 times, really push it. And I think that's good. Let's save that out. Save. Boom. And we're going to do the same thing with our background. This one might need a little bit of contrast love to it. Yeah, I like that. All right. And that's going up 6 times too. All right. Let's save out that image. Save. Bam. All right. Let's get on to the next stage. All right, so we're in Photoshop. This is where the fun stuff happens. We're going to combine everything. So first what we're going to do is we're going to open up our background file because that'll give us the proper aspect ratio. You can do it either way because you can always resize your canvas, but you know, hey, we're gonna take a step out. And there that is. My JPEG's open directly into Camera Raw. You can set that in preferences if you want. So I am going to just open that right into a file. Now I'm going to place embedded, so that means the file is connected inside of it. I'm going to grab our foreground, which is the Gigapixel version. There it is. I'm going to say okay, and that goes there. This I will resize a little bit. We're going to want that bit bigger. Yeah, let's go up a little more. Let's see. All right. Hit enter. That's the size I want. And there's our background. So let's gotta unlock our background. I want to try and we have this little guy down here. I just shift delete, and this will give us a fill. I want to do a content aware fill. Say okay, and he's gone. All right, so first, both of these are facing the wrong way for me. Let's see. Let's Apple T, and then I right click on it, flip horizontal, enter, and How did that? Oh. Flip both of them. Good. Good. So our lighting is in the correct, because we want the light for her to be coming from motivated by what we see in the background. So that is great. We are going to do a little bit of work on her. First, what we're going to do is we are going to do an object selection. Hey, and this is Adobe's wild AI selection tool. So we kind of just run a selection around her. Up into this hair and back down like that. Let's see how it does. Boom, looks good. What we can do is select and mask. Select subject. Oh, wait a minute. Select and mask. Fine hair. Get that nice. And, that gives us a nicer, rougher, more defined edge. Look at that. That's a great matte. Look at that. Say okay. We're going to go down here and make a layer mask. And that cuts her out. Boom. And look at that. It's already telling a nice story here. I may just go up a little bit more in the scale. I want to make sure I'm getting this all correct. All right. And now I'm going to duplicate this layer. Just want to be as non-destructive as possible. I'm going to hide that, the original. Now if I right click over on the layer, I'm going to rasterize the image. So it's not a smart object anymore. I'm bringing up my paintbrush. As you can see, her shoulder was cut off here. So not a big deal. Let's just grab, I'm going to select this color on her shoulder. I got to do it in another layer because we have a mask on there, and just kind of paint down something that we would see and matches the texture. I'm using the built-in watercolor artist dry brush, and that's done great. Now what I want to do is why is that? Let's see. Let's make sure this is just all dandy. Okay. Now we've got these two layers. We're going to take those and we're going to go and do a layer merge visible. Bingo. Let's show our background. Perfect. Looks great. All right. So our next step is we're going to use some more Adobe AI magic. We're going to go filter, neural filters. And we're going to go to the harmonization. Turn that on. We're going to select our background layer. And let it think for a second. And bingo, look at that. It's it's put the foreground and background in the same color space. I love it. Let's just test what 100% would be. All right. Might be a tad much, but okay. So we're going to put that into a new layer and hit OK. Now the colors match really nicely. We've this is the old one. Here's the new one. Sits much nicer in there. What I'm going to do is, let's hide that background one. May use that later because it's really making the rim light on her hair pop a little, and that's cool. When we're compositing, we always want to put you have a dark layer, lighter layer, dark layer, light layer. Just keep separating things like that. So we may keep that in there. Let's duplicate that layer just so we're not being destructive. We're going to make that convert to smart layers, and you will see why in a second. And now I'm going to open this foreground layer in filter, camera raw filter. We're going to develop her a little because I think we can pull out her highlights a bit. When you're talking about imagery, and this is big in photography, the brightest element in the photograph is where your eye goes to. So let's bring the whites up just a hair. Oh, that's not really a hair. That's like 50%. Let's see how that does. All right. So now she's balancing out our background. A great way to test this stuff is if you do put an adjustment layer, black and white, put a black and white layer over your image. This is where you kind of check your compositing. Make sure your blacks that exist on her exist in the background. If one is lighter, if the darkest black is lighter, that means you don't have a match. And that goes for the white too. If the brightest white, like I see this fire is the brightest white in the image. If that doesn't match her brightest, you could potentially not have a match. In this case, it does match because fire is going to be the brightest element. She's not on fire, although she is hot. That makes a perfect balance. So that's a great way to check your black levels, is just put a layer on top of it and make sure everything looks cohesive in black and white. All right, there's a quick tip. We're going to delete that layer. So now we have her on the background. Everything's looking good. What I want to do is, what is this? Alt Apple Shift E. That takes everything in my composite and flattens it to a new layer. So I keep all my history underneath it, but this is my new layer that everything exists on. Let's take that and convert that to a smart object. And let's bring that whole thing into Camera Raw. And now let's do a little developing here. Let's bring the whites up. That's cool. So when you're bringing the whites up, it's actually giving a nice glow to the fire. She's staying very nicely lit too. And wow, look at that. Very cool. Now I want to change the color temperature globally. I'm going to make it a little bit more yellow, then a little bit more magenta. And by doing this globally, it's kind of it's kind of putting a glaze over the whole thing. So once again, it works on combining these two layers nicely. Another effect I'm going to put on that's going to do that. I want to see if we push the saturation a little, or do we want to pull the saturation out? We can pull it out a little. Oh yeah, that's nice. Or the vibrance. And the vibrance works on skin tones. So it's pulling down the skin tones a little bit. And then one more effect to kind of make all of this sit in the same world is we're going to try a vignette. And of course, the vignette is going to marry these pieces together too. Because it's affecting both of them. So it's just softening the transition from one layer to the other. And I think that looks great. Another thing you can do is, if you're into photography compositing and you're doing live action, you could add grain to both layers. And that marries them on a very for a thumbnail, it's not that big a deal, but if you're looking at something that's blown up or more realistic, that would help. All right, so I think we've got that looking good. So we kind of look at the two of these. This is after I made those changes to this is the changes to the complete image, and this is before I did the vignette and the color pass. Looks good. Excellent. All right, so our next step is, you guys have seen my thumbnail, so I created a long time ago an Illustrator file. So we're going to place that in here. We're going to place embedded. And this is kind of my branding. Attack of the AI. And that we're going to scale down and put off over to the side. Now, how does that look? All right, so the problem we have here now is the A and the lettering. The AI is losing its legibility because of the bright background right there. Now we can fudge and move the background around a little bit, or what we can do is right click on or double click on our layer and bring up the layer style. Let's go to drop shadow. And let's put a bit of a drop shadow. And this is where I'm determining how big it is and how soft it is. Attack of the AI. There we go. I'm using the distance and the spread, just making sure we have a bit of contrast around our lettering, because that is where the legibility issues come in. So we just need a little bit the other thing we could do too is we could do, which I've used on different ones, is a glow. But a glow is typically bright, so I'm trying to, we do a dark layer, and then we do a light layer, and then a dark layer. So when I use the shadow, I'm basically creating a layer between the, so we have the bright area of the background, and then we have the bright area of the attack of the AI. And I need to put a dark layer in between. So that's how I'm using the drop shadow. And I think this looks great. Go back to our drop shadow. Maybe I'll just push the opacity up. Boom, that looks awesome. Hit OK. And then a couple other things we can add in here just to put a little polish on it. Since it's a thumbnail for YouTube, let's place embedded, and I have a couple of logos. Since we're using Photoshop, let's put that guy in here. And that's good. And then file, place, embedded. We're also using Midjourney. Okay, we want these about the same size. So I'm just going to eyeball that. Put that there. And, I don't like that Midjourney one, so let's give it an apple eye. So we're going to invert it. And now we're going to, over in our layers panel, let's convert that to a screen. And now it's white on that. So, that's not, so we're running into that light on bright type of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this up here, our Midjourney, and then let's grab our Photoshop. Since Photoshop has a dark, let's put Photoshop over here, and let's put Midjourney first, because that way the Midjourney one can kind of sit in the shadows and be very legible. And now let's just get these out, here. Let's go. Oh, man. You get a new Photoshop and it changes. So let's do that and that. We're going to go with our select tool. Make sure selection is, so this is our transform tool. I am going to align these two, make sure they're center aligned, top aligned, center aligned. That's great. Alignment is a big deal. We're going to make this a little bit bigger. Now, there's also I like things to line up. And it looks more intentional when you're doing design if, this Midjourney boat is lining up with the Photoshop, but it's also lining up with the edge of the attack of the AI. And I could pull out a guide and make sure we're on it. Yep, that looks good. And view. Let's turn off show guide. That looks great. And that really is a great thumbnail. It tells a story, looks dramatic. I love it. All right. Let's just save that out. Save. All right, and our last step is to export a JPEG for YouTube. And we're just going to go File, Export, Export As. This is going to load everything in. It's a big file, so it's crushing everything down. I like to work big. It's always good to be big and go small than have to go small and go big. And we only need it to be 1920 by 1080, so that's great. Let's export it. And save and place and export, and we are done. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you guys can get out there and make some killer thumbnails. If you use this process, please tag me, show me the videos. I want to see them. If you use it on Instagram or any type of storytelling, tag me in those. I'm at In Between Stops out there. If you could do me a solid and like, subscribe, and comment on that video, on this video, not that video. You can comment on those if you want. Anyway, if you could do that, it would be great, really helpful. All right, till next time.